Half a day and good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. This informational briefing by the Committee on Housing, Utilities, Public Safety, and Homeland Security is now called to order. It is now, thank you, 5:34. For the record and in accordance with 5 GCA Chapter 8, subsection 8107, notices were sent out via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on July 3rd, 2018, and the second notice on July 9th, 2018. I'd like to thank Senator Uggan and Senator Joseph Augustine for being present here today. The purpose of this informational briefing is to help the committee and the general public to understand issues of concern regarding the LEAC, the Levelized Energy Adjustment Clause, current power systems, and the status of the 180 megawatt power plant planned in Dededo. We have with us today Mr. John Beneventi, Mr. Graham Bota, and Ms. Muffness. Mr. Beneventi, I understand you have a PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Senators, thank you for being here today. I do have a power presentation. It's only 50 pages long, but I'll try to go through it as quickly as possible.
Yes.
And but if you do have any questions, please go ahead and interrupt me and then anyone throughout.
Yes.
No?
All right.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Is it okay? Testing 1, 2, 3. First of all, on the there was three actually main topics that was requested we provide information on. One was Levelized Energy Adjustment Clause, the LEAC, a status of the current power system, and then an update of the 180 megawatt power plant. The first item, the LEAC, we are every 6 months we are required to file with the PUC for what LEAC adjustment is necessary to cover fuel operated relating expenses. I'd like to note that our base rate, which has been about the same since October 1st, 2013, our base rate is what we use for operations, for fixed costs, what we pay our debt on, and all the different operating parameters. The LEAC is only fuel-related expenses. The decrease and increase in power rates has been due to adjustments to the Levelized Energy Adjustment Clause, which are directly related to fuel oil expenses. And the LEAC is adjusted to be revenue neutral, meaning if we over-recover this time, the next 6 months we give that money back. If we under-recover, we carry that for that period and then charge it back to the customer in the following 6 months.
And can you just explain to the audience what do you defined as base rate? What is covered under base rate, please?
Yeah, the base rate component is what we use to pay labor, contractual arrangements, other operational maintenance arrangements. About 3.5 cents of that is used for debt to pay off the bond debt service. And any other thing that's not related to fuel, that's our base rate. So that's the operating, that's how, and that's what we budget our revenues, or we do our budget from, is what revenues we anticipate. If we really have a shortfall in our operation and maintenance needs, which really this component covers, that's when we will ask for a need, and we find a need to increase the base rate. That's when we will file something separately. And again, that requires a substantial amount of notification to the ratepayers as to accomplish that. So again, it's a very tedious process, but we've been fortunate that there has been growth that's been happening over the past several years, and that growth has allowed us to keep up with all our needs. I'd like to turn to the next page, and what this, and basically, this is giving you the historical residential LEAC rate, beginning in 2012 all the way up to February 1st, 2018. And again, more recently, the highest actually has been in the period of time, in this period of time, closer to about 2013. But since then, the LEAC rate had been going down and only began climbing up again around August of 2016. And that's what you're seeing, that curve moving up. The next page, actually, let me see if I can line up with the next page, please. Here, again, the blue line here is our base rate. And you see, as you can see, it's basically straight. No? The red line is the LEAC. And then the top line is the total bill, the average total bill. So as you can see, the average total bill rise is really running parallel to the LEAC. It shows that really is the LEAC that's been rising, and that again, that's fuel-related expenses. Next. The next page actually gives you the actual over and under recovery for the period from 2012 to May 2018. And again, if it's negative, that means that we fooded more of the fuel-related expenses and then applied that to the following 6 months. So if you look at the February 1st, 2017, we were actually 14 million behind in the fuel expenses, meaning we had fronted about $14 million and actually 16 million in August 1st, 2017. And then we started raising the rates and actually started recovering, so much to the point that now, as of May 1st, we decreased that under recovery down to about $9.4 million. When we put together our filing, and we have to file with the PUC by June 15 of each year, there's 2 periods of time, June 15 or December 15. So for June 15 is for the we have to file for the period August 1st through January 31st. So when we started looking at what we needed to file, of course we looked at the average price of fuel oil.
Mr. Beneventi, if I could just ask a quick question just for information purposes for our people. If you can go back to the page just before that one, in terms of your actual over-under recovery.
Correct.
Because your rates were adjusted in February, and then they were also adjusted in May. And that was based on the authorization. You had a 2 phased-in rate adjustment fee. So just for the information of the public, that the power electrical rates were adjusted the beginning of February and then in May to be able to help recover what you highlighted here as an under recovery. When I say under recovery, just for those who are watching, it's really the amount that GPA has not been able to offset by virtue of the LEAC rate.
That's correct. The LEAC is not recovering the full fuel costs, correct.
Okay. So now looking at moving forward, you said that by virtue of I'm paraphrasing, but by virtue of the rates that were adjusted, the LEAC rates that were adjusted in February, and also the rates that were adjusted in May, you've been able to bring the under recovery to a $9.4 million figure.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, in the recent proposal, I believe it was within the last month, you were, it may have been at the CCU level, not necessarily the PUC level, but there was a consideration to possibly review the rates and adjust it, and then a decision ultimately was made to hold off any LEAC adjustment until January of 2019. Is that correct?
That's correct, and actually that's the next 2 pages that I'm going to explain. No?
Okay, then I'll anticipate some of your explanation, because I'm just looking at the numbers in terms of the reduction of the under recovery to $9.4 million, and then what your projected under recovery may be moving into January of 2019.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Benvenuti. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So when we prepared we're preparing to provide a filing by June 15 to the PUC for the August to January period. Of course, we look at the cost of dollars per barrel fuel oil, and when we put in the under recovery for January, the period before that you're seeing, which was approved for February and May recoveries, the average cost of fuel was being estimated somewhere around the $65 a barrel. But subsequent to that, fuel oils have been rising, as was shown in the previous page, which is actually was shown in the earlier pages. So therefore, we started to look at, okay, what would happen? And again, at that time, fuel prices were heading straight up, and it didn't seem like it was going to stabilize anywhere. So we looked at it and we said, okay, if the average cost of fuel went up to $75 a barrel, and then the zero cost recovery, if we were going to recover everything, what would by holding the rate, what would that look like? So that looked like it was going to recover, what do you call it? We were going to recover $7.1 million. Now, I mean, we'll still be under recovered $7.1 million. At a full cost recovery, we will need to raise the rate for $75 a barrel to 16.5 cents from the 15.42 that was approved in the May period.
So just listening to Mr. Beneventi, I'm sorry, just so that I can understand the entire process. So let's say you purchase fuel. GPA purchases fuel today at a rate of $15 per barrel, or $65 if you want to go with more realistic figures. $65 per barrel, and it continues to incline and increase over the next few days or next few weeks. What is your storage capacity for fuel that is actually purchased and brought in before you have to readjust your rates?
We have about a 60 to 90 day storage capacity.
68 to 98
60
million?
to 90 days. And the way it works is really first in, first out. So whatever, if the low prices were there, that's what we put in as our average cost here. But with it rising, then then at some point it starts to our average cost rise.
So based on your usage, on your usage, your storage capacity, if you do not purchase fuel today for the foreseeable future, how long would the fuel that you have in storage cover your requirement?
If we don't purchase any fuel, then we can run for 60 days to 90 days at the most, no?
So that's your storage capacity in terms of time.
That's our capacity.
60 to 90
we
days.
try to keep that as our reserve requirement so that if anything happened, of course, we have enough capacity at least to react to that. No?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So again, we saw that, okay, at $77 a barrel, if we were at $77 a barrel, if we go and average that, then staying at the same rate, we will be under recovered about 10.1 million by January of 2019. We also know that 15.4 includes some provision for trying to recover from the customer for past fuel expenses that were not recovered. So therefore, we said, well, hopefully oil will settle around the 70 and below. And so therefore, there's really not a need to increase the rates. So that's when we made that recommendation to the PUC to hold the rate at 15.4 and let us see, because we had absorbed as much as 16 million under recovery. We're projecting about 10. But if oil starts rising and goes to $80, $90 a barrel, of course we have to come in even earlier. And we always have that, not necessarily right, but we can always file under the protocol with the PUC. So that's why we decided to just hold it at 15.4. And the PUC, subsequent to that, approved that to be the case. So that's why we're holding the LEAC rate at that 15.4 all the way to January 31st of next year. And again, oil has subsequently gone up almost to $80 a barrel, but then it came down to 70. So hopefully it's stabilizing, no? And because it's really, again, that's part of the reason why we're trying to go to other things, as I will show, like renewables, LNG gas, and all of that, so that we can finally, once and for all, control as much as possible our fuel-related expenses, because for as long as we've been here, or the utility has been around, we've always been at the mercy of rising But as we will see shortly, which is actually, I believe, the next page. If you look at the next page, what you see really is by 2021, around that period of time, you're going to see a drop in costs. And why is that? And again, that's barring this thing going up to $100 a barrel. If it does go $100 a barrel, we're still going to drop down. And because we have 120 megawatts of new renewables that are coming on the line around 2020, 2021. And those renewables are 8.5 cents a kilowatt hour. Right now, the LEAC is 15, so we're going to save about 7 cents a kilowatt hour at that time. In addition to that, we've always looked at the new power plant is to be constructed to be able to burn two types of fuel, ultra-low sulfur diesel and natural gas. So what you're going to be seeing from us is we may be coming over the next few months here to request that we go to natural gas if oil continues to behave the way it is. So therefore, by the time the new power plant comes in, we can also have the infrastructure put in for natural gas, and therefore we're going to have three types of fuel that will now help us to try and to help us stabilize rates in the future as early as 2021. You have more renewables because the phase 1 and phase 2 of 120, and there's one out on bid on Navy land, about 40 megawatts of capacity, that's going to use batteries to store that energy and use it at night. That's under bid right now. All of that would allow us, plus what we have today, for 25% of our energy to be produced from renewables by 2021. We're also going to be looking and starting to plan to try and get 50% renewables, maybe earlier than 2030. So what does that mean? That's renewables that's basically at most a 1% escalator. So you'll see a gradual rise, but not as much as, and it's certainly going to be below what we're paying for fuel today. So again, that's why you'll see that drop in 2021. That's where we're heading with the new power plant and the renewable projects that are underway. Okay. Next item is again, still on the same, like I said, the 15.4, where we petitioned to stay until January 31st, 2019. The PUC has approved that. And again, the highest monthly bill for 1,000 kilowatt hours consumer was to about 29 cents a kilowatt hour for fuel versus the 15 today. And that was back around 2013 or February 2013. So again, that's been the highest, and we're working very hard not to get to that point, as you can see with the renewables that we mentioned earlier. And we hope that we can drop it as low as the average bill, not just the LEAC, the average bill to be somewhere around the 18 cents a kilowatt hour in the coming future years. So that, and if you have any other questions on LEAC, but that's the LEAC projection, how it's calculated, there's a protocol that we have to follow, and the information that is kind of straightforward that we provide the PUC for them to make their analysis, and then they have to approve it at the end. Okay. The next item is a generation system update. I just gave you June, actually, but it's very similar.
Mr. Beneventi?
Yeah.
I got a simple question for you. You're mentioning renewable energy. Just concerned, is there any plans to get DOE schools to get more renewable energies? I mean, I can only visualize that there's 41 schools out there.
Yep.
That's 41 solar farms.
Yep.
I'm just wondering if GPA is planning on doing that so we can bring the price down for everybody throughout the island and to include savings at DOE.
Actually, you're correct, Senator. If you recall, part of the financing, when we asked the legislature to refinance the bonds, you also asked us what are we going to do with the savings. And we said, there's some immediate savings that we're going to use the savings for the new power plant. But there are some savings for the first 3 years until the power plant is built. So we asked the commission and they approve, and the CCU approve, and the PUC approve, that we're going to spend $500,000 of that, first to do an analysis of all the schools, 1 for energy efficiency and 2 for solar PV, so that we know what is the capacity that each school can provide, no, the rooftops and all of that. So we engaged about a $250,000 study out of that 500, and that analysis is being done today. Once that's completed, our plan is to take that information and assist DOE in getting grants, because the best thing for them, if they get grants, is really no cost to anybody. So that's the most economical. The other $250,000 we're going to use as a pilot in some of the other schools, whether it's air conditioning or other things, so that we can show the possible reduction of costs. So again, that's ongoing. I think over the next few months here, you'll be seeing the results of that. So that's the investment being made from the refinancing project. So in terms of capacity today, with 385.
So Mr. Miniventi, I'm sorry, if I can just ask you, I'm a very simple-minded individual, and I think a lot of our people are just inquiring, okay, based on all this explanation, and you've given a very good explanation in terms of the base rate, in terms of the LEAC rate. Our people are interested in your, I guess, prognosis or your comment with regards to where rates may be 5-6 months from now. I mean, can they anticipate an adjustment, an increase in rate down the road? And I know that you know exactly where I'm going with this in terms of the response, but I think that really our people are more concerned about, okay, what is my power going to cost me 1 month from now? What is it going to cost me 6 months from now? And then you and all of your experts and the senators would work on the numbers and how we can keep it as reasonable as possible.
Okay. I wish my crystal ball was that good, Senator, but I can only try and work as best, and stuff. But we know that we're trying to keep the 15.4 at least for the next 6 months. So that basically is going to be your bill, no? But consumption does vary in the heated months, hot months, coming up September, October. Your air conditioning is going to work harder just naturally, even though you're not doing anything differently. So that consumption goes out. So they need to look at that too, right? But we're holding the price, and then unless fuel oil just, again, like I said, started going $80, $90 a barrel and all of that. What I can also say is that by 2021, you will see a drop and a stabilization of your rates with the implementation of the plans underway with the new power plant and the renewables. And as we continue further to the later years, the stabilization will include more renewables. So we can get 50% renewables by 2030, and I'm challenging our team to be 2025, 2028. Then you're going to see again your rates stabilize, because what I saw was rates around 18, 20 cents a kilowatt hour. It seems like our consumers were happy because everywhere I go, I was like a hero, no? But when it started rising, it's quite the opposite. It's a very scenario, right? So again, I'm hoping that, not hoping, but I believe this is, I won't be showing you that graph if I didn't believe and we're not working to make it happen. But, that's where we're heading, so that at least there's some relief. But more importantly, when we get to that point, we'll start to be able to control our fuel-related expenses much more. We'll have some control. Today, we have no control except delay or so-and-so. No? In terms of capacity, I think I use this sheet just to note to everyone that we really need the new power plant. And basically, I'm sorry, the next page, please. Next one. Next, current power, yeah, next one. Generation update, next one. There we go. If you look at the top base load capacity, we used to have 299 when Cabers 3 and 4 was available. And then it went to 208 when we lost the 80 megawatts. So therefore, again, that's what we have between now and the new power plant. So by 2022, 2021, 2022, the addition of the new power plant and the retirement of Cabers 1 and 2, which are today 43 years old, will result in about 268 megawatts of base load available to us. If you start taking out the, and that's our total capacity by then, about 468. If you take out what the expected demand, and today it's about 261 highest, maybe by then we'll have 283 because there is going to be some growth with the military build-up, and we're constantly growing every year, about 600 customers every year. We've been growing for the past several years. So we are getting... So with all of that, we're going to go from, as you can see, 5 by 2021, which is meaning that's the only margin above what our minimum needs are, to about 97, which will allow for more growth or the retirement of older units to save money. But in this whole thing, it's also saying really that, as you can see in the renewable portion towards the bottom of the page, we'll be going from the 25 megawatts we have today to 185 megawatts of renewables by 2021. And therefore, that's the one that's going to help us save money. And our target is really by 2022 to generate our energy from 72% from base load, intermediate load, which is the new power plant, and MEC 8 and 9, 26% from renewables, and 1% from standby generator. That will give us, I believe, the most efficient operational mode. In terms of the new power plant, that's the next page. We did go out for the bid qualification period. We received 18 proposals. The list of acceptable bidder that qualified ended up to be 7, and that's the 7 that you have there in the bottom. Those 7 will now be given the technical specs to prepare their proposal of what power plant they're going to propose, what type of units, and will give us a price. And so by doing that, we'll be able to select a low bidder, hopefully by the early next year at the most, so that we can contract. I'm hoping by March or next summer we can contract and break ground on the new power plant. So, and that's the next page. That's the schedule. We've actually rezoned the land. Thank you very much.
Mr. Beneventi, what's your formula, Madam Chair, if I may, in regards to the new power plant? I mean, what is your approach? The power plant, the winning bidder would construct the power plant, provide the specifications and the requirements, the type of electrical power to GPA,
correct,
or is GPA contributing to building some of the facilities, and then the contractor would come in and provide the electrical power?
We have we have 85 million from our Cabers 3 and 4, which was going to be put into the new power plant. Because the new power plant is going to be built, plus also the transmission line, plus also the pipelines all the way down to Cabers for bringing the fuel. So all of that together will be the cost of the new power plant. So we had 85, and again, these are approximate numbers. I just closed the deal yesterday for the land. I signed about 120 documents of all the owners and paid about $10.8 million. So the land now is owned by GPA. And so therefore, the remaining 75 or so million is going to be put into provided to the winning bidder to offset the total cost of the new power plant. So therefore, that amount of money would not have to be financed over the next 25 or 30 years.
So how would that arrangement be carried out? Because you just said the $75 million is going to be given to the winning bidder. So
That's
it's
correct.
not the government that is going to go out and construct the required facilities?
No. We're going to get the bidder to construct the pipelines, transmission, everything. The danger of having the government ourselves do it and then them doing the power plant is that if there's a delay in the power plant, a delay in the pipeline, we're going to end up paying the winning bidder the regular payments for not being able to use the power plant because already they're completed and waiting for the pipeline. So we decided that we'll let the bidder build the whole thing. That way there's no pointing fingers, and the commissioning date of the plant will be when they complete everything, including pipeline and everything.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
So again, and that pipeline centers is not only a diesel pipeline, but also a gas pipeline. So that the next step, when I said going to LNG, is just getting a floating storage and regasification facility by another IPP that will operate and maintain it, and then buying the fuel. And then now we're in business in terms of having that renewables done. So again, the schedule there, and again, you're looking at second quarter 2022. We're still trying hard to try and get it done by the end of 2021. So again, the plans are Cabers units, we're constantly working on them. They come up and down, but we're still providing energy. And the new base load will really help us and in getting to where we had targeted earlier. The next item, if there's no questions on generation, is T&D system update. Madam Chair, I changed it all around a little bit. I add a lot of pretty pictures just so to give an idea of the typhoon and what our men were experiencing out there and all of that. So again, I'll start with Tropical Storm Maria. As you can see, the first picture is really next. Our team out there before the storm, trying to cut as much as we could. The next picture is really our team out there during the storm, and they had to stop around 2 o'clock in the morning because the bucket trucks it was unsafe for them already. And then the third picture is really post-storm clearing and restoration. On the left side is the next picture. The left side is the work up in Windward Hills, and the right side is the major work at Ipoh Road where the trees fell and took out that whole area. The next page, please, gives you an idea of some of the problems that we're trying to correct. Is trees falling over secondary lines. This is the line that goes from the pole to the customer's home. Those are very hard to repair after a typhoon and are very difficult and most time consuming. And so therefore I'll show you what effort is being done in that area. And like the next page is kind of something we're proud of and gives us a lot of joy. As we worked and ordered one of the areas, our team was out there working, and we had this little boy that our guys went up on the ladder, and this little boy came over and was holding on to the ladder. And, it says, why? They were telling him, please move forward. No, I want to make sure you don't fall. So, so we gave him a hard hat, of course, and of course, our team is not going to fall, so they took all protection. But again, that's a future lineman that we see. So we take great pride, and actually we're going to invite him in and put him in uniform and use him as our poster boy, no? But again, it's nice to know the thing. But there was one happy boy that night. In terms of the next page, this gives you an idea of the loading of the system for several days before the storm. It's the one that's moved, but if you see the bottom one, the gray, that's the night of the storm. So everything was fine until about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then the breakers, the trip, so that means the winds were really picking up. Then we had right there around between 5 and 6, we had the blackout. But half an hour later, we were already generating 6 megawatts of power. We got the units, one unit in Dededo up right away and started generating. So as you can see, we started recovering everyone. So by the evening, we had most of our customers back on the line. It took for the balance of the customers, those are the ones I was showing you earlier. The lines were down within the villages and every other area. We got everyone back up by late the following day. But again, that's the amount of, that gives you an idea of the recovery effort after the storm. I will be making a report on the blackout, but I don't have that today. However, when you have storms like this, I can only say that the machines protect themselves. The lines protect themselves. So if something happens, they shut down so that they don't get damaged. So that's, we're preparing that report to show the sequence of events. And then, again, we're quite happy about the recovery, that we were able to start bringing everyone back during that period. Our damage assessment is the next page. Our total damage is about $234,000 in the system, both from T&D, the lines, and generation at the power plant. Some of the sidings of the Cabras power plant went flying, different things like that. The next page actually gives you an idea of our system. We have 29 substations and 189 miles of transmission lines. What that is the power from the power plant delivers bulk power to a substation. And then from that substation, it's like your panel box. It starts deliveries to each of the different breakers, feeding certain parts of your home. So that's what we call the substation is your panel box. And then the feeders, you will see later, we have 67 feeders. That's the amount of breakers, if you will, in your home that are individually feeding various areas of the system. Again, we have 189 miles of 115 and 1,600 miles of distribution and secondary lines. So again, there is a lot of lines out there in the system. No? About 60% of the load, as we have shown earlier, is up north where the new power plant is going to be built. The concrete pole system, we have about 90%, about 87.5, I believe to be exact, are hardened already. They're concrete pole and steel. And I'll show you, we have about 24, almost 25% of our customers have their secondary line to their homes underground. And the hope is to get every one of them underground so that we just come in, fix the main line, and so many people come on. The next, and again, I'll run through this quickly. The next page is, again, a summary of our customers and the miles of our underground lines and distribution lines, the number of feeders by the north, central, and south. The next page is what I was talking about. We have put 2,000 of our customers in the hybrid program. That's where we did the underground, where we went in and took the lines and actually went all the way to their meter box underground ourselves. There are about underground subdivisions throughout the island, like Barrigada Heights, Sinahanya, all those different. There's about 10,000 of them, so that's good. They're already underground. So we have that many customers that are serviced by underground secondary system, so about 25% of the system. In terms of the hybrid, that's the next page. And as you can see, recently we put in Agat Santa Rita. about 600 homes. Usually before there was like spaghetti behind their homes with all these lines running around. We put all of those underground. So during this last storm, of course, we ran right out, fixed the main line, and all these homes came back up very quickly. So this is the program that we've been doing, hybrid underground. So we'll be picking areas at a time of very difficult areas to restore and continue to that. I don't mean to do it, we don't plan to do it overnight. This is like a program. The concrete pole system started around the early 80s, mid 80s, and look at where we are today. 30 years later, we have about 90%. So if we continue a little bit at a time every year, in the next 2 or 3 decades, really the whole island is going to be in good shape, no? The next, again, I'll try and move as quickly as I could, Senator. Underground customers, there's your 10,000 in the various villages. The staffing, I'd like to note that we have 97 in T&D, and I'm just concentrating on T&D. But look at the retirees that are eligible from that. And this is our linemen, and these are the people that do all this work. And so therefore, you see the apprenticeship program. We're actually graduating 14 that have graduated. We're recognizing them tomorrow. 14 or 15? 15, I'm sorry. And then we're actually kicking off for 2019, 20 apprentices. And we expect that there'll be about 20 for the next 4 or 5 years, just to meet the future retirement needs of them. Because linemen are not, a dime a dozen out there. They really have to be trained over the years. These T&D activities, they do customer work 24/7. You have a problem, you call up in the middle of the night. They're constantly there. Streetlight repairs, hardware, replacing wood pole, vegetation. There's a whole bunch of that these guys do, this team does. The work orders, line extension, anyone new? Again, new installation, plan improvement, temporary power, approximately 4 orders received every month. So I'm just trying to give you an idea of the workload that this team does. The next one, troubleshooting, they get about 200 calls a month. They're constantly going out there. And again, these are people calling in because they have a problem. But we also have a program that's going to work where we can tell that they're going to have a problem so that we can proactively send people out to correct that. Street lights, we have about 16,000 poles on the 16,000 street lights on the island. There's 10,000 left that are still the high pressure sodium.
I'm sorry, Mr. Beneventi, if
Yeah.
you could just give us the phone number for the 24/7 troubleshooting for all the people that are watching. I know you
Melinda,
said
you
you
have to
get
give
about
that.
200 calls a month. What's that number?
475-1472.
Thank you.
Yeah, so any problem that they have, if there's flickering, there's things like that occur and they're wondering, those are not things that we know today that we can immediately, they need to call us so that we can send this team, and that's 24 hours a day. They're constantly rotating from one area, fixing lines. No?
Mr. Beneventi, before you move on the street light, I'm concerned about the street light reference to every taxpayer that owns a car or everybody that registers their vehicle, they pay a street light fund. Where is that fund? Is that all going to GPA so that you can turn on the street lights, or is it going to somebody else? Could you clarify that? So that the people of Guam can understand where the money's at.
There is a street light fund that's from the license, no?
Registration.
But that's really a budget of DPW.
So you're saying it's at
our
DPW?
customer is DPW. So whatever DPW asks us for in terms of lights here installed, they're the ones that pay the bill. So we that's who we attend to, no? The village mayors request DPW. And that's where they send all and then the work orders come from them to us, and then we install it, and then we charge them.
Well, why is it that the village mayor is doing this when there are a lot of intersections, there's bus stops, there are a lot of dead roads. I mean, the back road at Jigu, down south, they don't have any lights, And I can't see the mayors being the one out there doing it, and they're not at the intersection or at the bus stops. So I'm just concerned that do you know how much money are you billing DPW for the power, for the streetlights? So that we can see if there's a match, because I can see if you were to say that highway safety, public works, and yourself was in that loop to manage all the streetlights, because there's just too many dark roads on the island.
Okay. I believe we're billing them somewhere between 4 and 6 million. I have to get you that exact number, Senator. However, I'd like to note this. We had 16,000 lights that are high pressure sodium. Okay, they're more expensive. They're the yellow ones that you see out there. So we bought in 5,000 LED lights, which is the white ones. Those LED lights consume half the energy than the high pressure sodium. So therefore, we also file a rate with a request with the PUC to have a LED street light rate. Therefore, they approved it, and so now for the 5,000 lights, we're charging DPW less. Okay? So we have 10,000 more, and we're going to change it to LED, which means that the rate that we charge, the total amount that we charge DPW will go down, which means that really they can put more lights out there if necessary, if they hold the budget where it is. No?
I don't think the rates, Mr. Benvente, is going to change on what every owner of a car is paying. I'm concerned that if you're saying then that the rate's going to go down by 50%, if you got 10,000 streetlights, then we could possibly have 20,000 street. In other words, the roads in Guam can be lit, and we don't have to worry about the safety of a police officer or the safety of our people. Am I correct?
Thank you, Senator. That's exactly that is exactly the thought of this program. No?
Yes.
But again, so the mayors, you know, I like to note that we're really trying to do this also because when you see an area that's not lighted or anything like that, what do the customers think? Lani, that GPA, you cannot put a light here. No?
That's true.
But we're not we only work with the customer, and the customer for all the lights, it's not, but again, it's not even the village mayor, so they ask us and we have to tell them, go here, so then you can get your request. So we have and again, we've issued it to the mayors, we've issued it to others, and we can provide it. We have a proposed standard. The standard is, okay, every intersection should have a light. Every other pole, or here in these areas where it's really dark, you can put here and there. So we've laid out what may be the minimum standard required to light up this island. So, if that's followed, and then with the reduction in cost, then yes, something could be accomplished to really make the lighting system.
Who would approve that program, that memorandum or that agreement, that standard?
We prepared it. And we shared it with the mayors, and I believe we shared it also with DPW. They really have to get together and adopt it.
Well, why does it require the mayors? I'm just curious. I can understand DPW, and you guys play the major role here because you're the one providing the service. Okay, I don't see how the mayor. I'm just very curious because you can go to any village today, and you know this, Mr. Benvente. We could drive down any village, and you're going to have certain areas. It's lit up. It's like a Christmas tree. It's like Tumon, and then you go to the other part of the village, and it's dark. And I'm just concerned.
Yeah. The only reason why we provide it is to the mayors so that they can use it as a guide and as a standard, no? So that they can use that and say, okay, go DPW or somewhere, and this is what we really need in our backyard, no? So that we have some rhyme or reason, if you will, to how we light up the island and light up those pocket areas. So again, we'll look at the numbers, we'll provide it to you, we'll project what it may cost if we have put in all the LED, because we petition the CCUS to petition the PUC will subsequently approve a different rate for LEAC for LED light versus high pressure sodium street light. So there is a savings. And we're in the process again of rebidding that so that we can get the rest of the island changed. And that opportunity will be forthcoming. So therefore there is an opportunity to light up the island at actually at the same cost or even lower.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, street lights. Next one, Madam Chair, is the line hardware maintenance. They do all this. We do thermal visions, different things like that. We have concrete poles on the islands that have been put together that have been here now 30 years, if you will. So, but the other hardwares there, the cross arm and other thing has to have a replacement program. So we're also working to do that so that we can be, again, to continue adding to the system. There's your 87.8, I'm sorry I said 87.5 of the concrete pole system. In the last Typhoon Maria, I think we had 2 wooden poles that went down. The rest were all, this time. So we also have a program that we're engaging the mayors with. It's a pole painting program and tree trimming program. That's the next subject that I'm talking about. We would like to paint all our poles traffic yellow, so that really as for safety reasons people can see, because the roadways, as you can see, some areas are very dark even without light. It's very hard and there's been so many accidents, if you will, running into poles. So we're going to try to do our best, paint it with traffic yellow, and we're going to ask the mayors to paint each, and we're going to pay them. We're going to provide them the paint, ask them, pay them about $10 a pole to get it done. If you go up to Georgia and take a look going up that area, you see on both sides of the road, it's all painted yellow. You go to another place, they painted white. You go to another place, some are painted gray. We believe that traffic yellow throughout the island would help in terms of visibility and more safety. No? So that's one part of the program. The next program really is vegetation. And this is a major...
Mr. Benavente,
yeah.
You mentioned you're going to give the mayors and pay them $10 a pole?
That's correct.
For the pole painting?
Huh?
For the pole painting?
Yeah, to paint $10 a pole with their manpower. We'll provide them the paint. And this is the reason why, for the logic for our madness, if you will. They have other needs there. They want us to put lights up on there or install lights here as necessary within their facilities. But they don't have the money to do so. We can't just go over there and pull up the poles because these are ratepayers' money, no? So it's more like an in-kind. Okay, we'll pay you $10 per pole, and then you accumulate with your credits, and then we'll come and put that lights up for you.
But it's a credit that you're giving them.
That's
it's
right.
not liquid cash. You're giving them a credit.
It could be cash.
Well,
but again, it's a
I think you
credit
should do
or
a credit,
something
'cause then
they
they
can
won't
do.
use it for
Yeah.
what you're intending to
the
do.
only reason why I bring this up is because currently today, the Department of Correction brings out their folks to cut their grass, and they don't get paid. And Department of Correction has a funding shortage. And if you want to give money out, I think give it to Department of Correction, because they can bring their folks out on every weekend, and they can paint the poles whatever color you want it to be. And you don't have to worry about... I'm just concerned is that mayors, we give them their budget, we determine move. I'm just very concerned. You have other agencies, you got a lot of nonprofit people that would love to go out there and help out. I'm just want to make sure that we don't have enough streetlights on, and it's the mayors, Mr. Benavente. So
the reason we're working with the mayors, of course, is they're the leaders of the community there, right? We not only have a pole painting issue that we wanted to handle, but we also have a tree trimming issue. And we're actually going to pay them also for trimming around the poles and maintaining it throughout time, and helping us with the customers that really make it difficult. It's a challenge to cut down some of this, or cut back mango trees, or again a coconut tree under our lines and everything, so that we're trying to put together a sustainable tree trimming program. And I'm thinking it's going to take us about 2 to 3 years to get this done. But this is all part of the plan, so hopefully engage everyone to, really make it happen. So that's why we're kind of working with them. And we have 11 that have volunteered to and are interested in the program. And so we're trying to kick it off around the beginning of fiscal year 2019. So maybe by October, we're trying to kick it over. And again, as you can see, $2 per linear foot of selected areas. And this is kind of what we pay contractors out there. So we're really trying to gauge it on something that we would, but we're going to inspect, and we expect the work to be done and to clean over time, no? Okay, I think I'm getting ahead. The next page is just gives you an idea of part of the program. Yeah, okay. Let me know one last thing, vegetation management activities. Okay, this is, again, we bought mulchers, we bought, we can go to the pictures if you will, the next we bought mulchers. Next, please. Next. There. We have 3 major mulches, north, central, and south. So we can mulch all the things that are cut down. The next page we will show you, we have 3 mowers that can go up and cut and mow away trees and talandangan and everything. So we're going to, and we're almost completely hiring the 6 operators that are going to constantly do this throughout the island, north, central, and south. So our hope is that with this program, we work with the village mayors and work with the contractors, we can begin to get control over the next 2 to 3 years of the tree trimming challenges that we have on the island. Because if we don't do a program continuously, it doesn't take long for them to grow right back up to the system. So that, Madam Chair, really is the summary of my presentation.
Thank you,
today.
Mr. Benavente. I just have a couple questions just to make it clear. For the anticipated power plant, you have a 3-step bid process?
That's correct.
Can you just real quick tell us the first, second, and third step? And I believe you are moving forward with the third step, correct?
The first step, Madam Chair, was the solicitation, the submittal of financial and technical qualifications that they've done this type of work, and they're financially capable to get the project done, finance it, and everything. The next step is where we're at now, is that the 7, and that ended up with 7 proponents.
Yes.
Next step now is probably within the next month, after we get all the approvals, we will provide them the bid specs. And what they're going to do is take about 3 months to put together their proposal, and they will submit 2 packages. One is the technical proposal and the price for that proposal. The price will be held and not open, and only the technical will be reviewed. If it meets our minimum requirements and all of that, then it passes. So it goes to the next door. So only those that goes to the next door will have their price open.
So the third step, you will review the price at the technical.
And whoever is the lowest price there is the winning bidder.
And I want to be clear that, are you going out for a bond for this new power plant?
Right now, this new power plant is under an IPP finance model.
Okay.
So
the bond is not, you will not go out for a bond for this power plant?
There are some thoughts that the potential to look at potential financing if that can lower the total cost, but that's really, we're looking at it. There's a way to look at that after a selection of a final bidder. Yes.
Well, you're already investing $85 million, $10 million that you spent on purchasing the land, and $75 million to subsidize, I guess, the transmission lines, the fuel lines. So
yes, $75. Yeah.
This is from the insurance money from cabins 3 and 4.
That's correct.
Okay. And then you have the, how much money did you receive from cabs 3 and 4, the insurance?
What was available afterwards for use in the power plant was about 85, somewhere around there. So we spent 10 for the land, so about 75 will go back to the...
Are you anticipating any more money to come in, or
No,
is the insurance policy closed? Everything has been
everything
done?
is complete.
So the process is completed, and the government, GPA, is only receiving $85 million.
That's correct. We have it in the bank already. So we have received that policy goes.
Okay.
But it can only be used to, because of the bond requirements, to put back into the infrastructure.
Right.
So that's
And
what
that's what you're
that's
doing.
why we're doing this.
Okay. And the other concern is the power rates. I think I recommend that you make it clear to the public that the operations has not changed since 2013, no?
Mm-hmm.
And so the base rate has not changed since 2013. What is impacting our cost of power is the LEAC.
That's correct, Madam
And
Chair.
so I think we need to make it clear to the public that GPA has been a responsible agency. I understand you even put forward money to try to supplement or preventing from having to increase the rates in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And this money came from the insurance from cabs 3 and 4. And so you need to be clear that the increase is, I know you keep on saying it in the news, but the increase is really because of the price of oil, and it's not because you are building a little kingdom for yourself at GPA. It's because of the price of
That's
oil.
correct. We cannot, and I think our legal counsel for PUC is here, Mr. Recchi, and he always checks every penny that it goes back to the consumer. We can't touch it or anything. And then, so what we've been able to is from the generation or debt service that we normally use for capital investment, that's what's kind of been floating this up and down on the under recovery.
Right.
And so it just means we delay a little bit the capital investment, but we still have to do it eventually here. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Does my colleagues have any questions? Senator Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Beneventi. To you and the entire team at GPA, I especially want to thank everybody for the planning prior to Tropical Storm Maria, the work that you did during the storm, and then the recovery efforts afterwards, and trying to get everybody's island-wide power back up as soon as possible. So I really appreciate that. I did have a question about the GMH electrical panel. I understand that GPA did an assessment of that, and so I just wanted to give you an opportunity to give us an update on that.
This GMH, I'm trying to stay out of this issue, but I will go ahead and make a comment, no? What we saw was that the electrical panels are ready to fail, which to us is a catastrophic event, which means that no power at all to the hospital unless the standby generators. So we volunteered to take a look at the panels because that's our area of expertise. And again, this is not the whole hospital and all the electrical systems of all the hospital and what its future needs are and whether it needs the new equipment or new wing. This is not that. This is just the power coming into the main panel and without that, the whole hospital is out. So we want to make sure that that is continuously operational. So that was our focus. So we went in there and we did take a look at that. Our team opened up the panels, which have not been open in years. And so, they evaluated and said, this is what we need to do to get this back in shape. And then we use thermal vision to determine what sections of lines there are running hot. If they're running hot, that means potentially a failure could occur in that section because interference with electricity results in losses, and losses comes in terms of heat. So that's why we use thermal vision. So we identified 3 hot spots that are running hot. They're not the hot, if you will. They're running hot and need to be addressed. And so that's what we given GMH, and that we would need to schedule an outage, 6-hour outage, and they'll run the hospital generator while we go in there, clean all of these things up and prepare that. And so that's what we've given GMH, and that's about $1,000 and all that. But again, that's to take care of the immediate concern that potentially the hospital will not have power. And then anything else, long-term, their needs and all of that, that wasn't part of our assessment.
Okay. And can you just repeat the amount that you're estimating would cost to address these hotspot areas?
1,700 something, and
$1,700?
which we brought to Peter John Camacho.
Okay.
And he signed for us to proceed. So we're just waiting. We told him any day and any time, just set it for a 6-hour outage, and our team will all be in there, clean it all up, get it all done, and then move out. Then we can just move on. No?
Understood. Thank you. I very much appreciate that. In your summary on page 50, you also mentioned that vegetation management is a significant challenge for you, but programs are being implemented to establish a sustainable program. And then you go on to ask for the public's assistance to substantially eliminate vegetation outages. So can you just give whoever might be watching on TV or later on YouTube an example of how we can help GPA?
If we can cut back or get rid of trees and stuff that potentially could hit the power lines in storms, because again, you don't know which wind direction, anything the storm is going to come, right? If we can cut that all back, and do that, then really it starts to become sustainable, because we don't have to come back every several months and trim back that same tree and use all that energy, right? So we can begin to move forward. I know that, way back, and it's not the fault of our customers, right? Because I think way back, when you get a piece of property, and what do you do with a piece of property to mark your boundaries? You start planting coconut trees or something around, and they did that. They allowed them probably planted on the front side, not really. So what we're asking is that allow us to take all those trees down, if you will. We're willing to get seedlings or something and even have it planted for them at another location in exchange for letting us do that or something. The mango trees, that's a very dear, right? But even them, look at some of the big trees that fall, right? And they affected. So we're trying to find a way where we can work together so that we can avoid having to keep coming back ever so often. And then that way we can use our labor more effectively, and then it starts to become sustainable. And then the storms come in, and really it's about the strength of the line. It's not everything dropping into it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Beneventi. My last comment, I guess I would say, is with regard to the staffing, and you went over for T&D, the staffing that you have about for fiscal year 2017, about 97 total full-time employees, total FTEs, and then you have eligible retirees that you're anticipating. So I just want to thank you so much for your foresight and for really trying to plan appropriately to maintain your workload, and I want to congratulate the folks who will be graduating tomorrow from the apprenticeship program, and we want to make sure that we kind of maintain that manpower and we're able to continue to provide this service to the people of Guam. Yeah. So I want to thank you very much for your management in that. And
thank you, Senator, and we're quite proud of that program. I myself am a graduate apprentice of SRF Guam, and in the early days, it's either you join the military, you go to college, or you take the apprenticeship examination to, be trained. And so I chose that. And that's what actually we're trying to work out with DOE, where we instill in the students, maybe in the 10th grade, 11th grade.
Kind of start creating a pipeline for them.
That's right. Because again, this is how we can build our workforce. And it's a Department of Labor certified, so you can take it anywhere in the nation. And then secondly, depends, there are some lower income families. Department of Labor, there's some grants that allows for them to offset. So it's a combination that's really been working, and we're going to continue to move forward with 20. Senator, we had 300 applicants for 20 apprentice
spots. I see.
and they'll all be taking an examination as the first phase to be able and then interview. So it's a good program, and thank you very much. And please join us tomorrow for for giving this proud team their certificate. Well,
Thank you, Mr. Beneventi, and thank you also to your team, Mrs. Masi.
yeah. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Beneventi, and thank all of you who are in attendance tonight. I also like to thank the hardworking folks at GPA for the excellent job that they've done to restore our power during this tropical disturbance, but also the transition you've made from Cabas 3 and 4. I was very fascinated on how you did that transition, and I applaud you and everyone at GPA for their hard work during that time. I do want to schedule perhaps a roundtable hearing to discuss the insurance that you agreed or completed with Cabas 3 and 4, the amount of money that was paid into the insurance, and then also the amount of money that you received back, the government received back from the insurance. And we will see you tomorrow at your apprenticeship graduation. Thank you very much, and congratulations to those who are graduating. Thank you, Mr. Beneventi. It is now 6:43. This information hearing is now adjourned. Have a good day.